Hi, and welcome back to the HSP Connection podcast. I'm here today with my wonderful friend, Jules, who, I'm just going to check my notes so I get it right, who is an NHS and private practice therapist. She specialises in children and young people, also works with adults, and she's also a supervisor as well. So she's one busy woman, and Jules and I have known each other for a long time. We don't see each other much, but when we do, we have really deep conversations, and we, mooted the idea of Jules coming on the podcast. And here she is today, and she chose the subject to talk about as grief, which I am really pleased she chose. I think it's a really important subject. I don't think we talk about it enough, especially in the UK. I know a lot of you listeners are in the US. I don't know whether you're better at talking about grief than we are, but we certainly aren't in the UK. And I just think it's a really, really important subject. So, Jules, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Sorry, bit of hay fever today. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's really, really lovely to have you here, and it's really great to see you, because I don't see you very often, and to have a really good conversation about a really important subject.
Yes.
So, big question first. Why did you pick grief?
Interesting. I think when we first discussed about me coming on, I'd lost my father December 2021, and I was right in the middle of it then.
Yeah.
And so it was really prominent in my life. And looking back in my history, I think why I came to counselling, and I did train with Cruz as a bereavement support worker initially, I think was grief in my own personal life, my partner's personal life. And so, yeah, just seemed really relevant.
Okay. And yeah, because it's something that we're not very good at talking. Well, I think that's my take on it. And I know I've heard other people say that we're not very good at talking about grief. So when you're working in that, you work, I know grief is very relevant in your personal life.
Yes.
Does grief come up a lot in your professional life as well?
Yeah, in different ways, because I work in the sexual assault service. So there's normally an element of loss with my clients. In some way, loss of a relationship, loss of trust.
Yeah.
And in my private practice as well. So yeah, many ways.
And would you say that people need support to talk about it? It's not something that comes easily.
Yes, yeah. And sometimes not, identified. If someone hasn't died, they haven't realized that there is an element of loss there, and that's the loss of a relationship, the loss of hope, the loss of the life that you thought you would have in the future.
Yeah, I mean, you've touched on such an important point there, and like the whole sort of what I heard called yesterday living loss. And I think that is really, really important. But I wonder whether we can park that just for now, because I think that's probably a subject all on its own, unless we get to it at the end. Maybe if we fill this slot up with talking about more what we might more traditionally think of. When we normally think of grief, we think about death.
Yes.
And so if we talk about that today, I mean, I absolutely want to talk about living loss, because that's very much my experience.
Yes.
But let's come back. Let's come back to that. But just, for benefit of, listeners who don't really know what we're talking about, it's the feelings of loss that come when, maybe we've not lost a person, or I know I've come across quite a few friends, whose parents perhaps are still alive, but are not quite as they were.
Yes.
And you're already, and that's a really weird, I don't know, weird's not the right word, but it's an uncomfortable, it's a difficult in between stage where you've not lost them because they're still alive, but you feel like the person that you have lost.
Yes.
And also some of the situations you were just talking about then, it's almost like a loss of self. in
Yes.
those situations.
Yes.
And gosh, it's really, there's a lot of loss, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe we can have another conversation
Yes,
about
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
But when we first mooted this subject, that was very much around death.
Yes.
And the death of your lovely dad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how are you?
I'm better. It's been 18 months now, and I can think about him without getting too emotional, and think about happy times and smile and be grateful for the memories. And I keep checking in on myself, but it's taken time. And he was only ill he was 79, and he had various health problems, but he always sort of battled through. He was really tough, but he went into hospital, and his kidneys packed up basically, and 10 days later he was dead. There was nothing they could do. So we did have time to say goodbye, but it was still a shock.
That's quite quick, really.
Yeah, it was a shock, because we always thought, oh, he'll be fine. He's in and out of hospital. He'll beat this, So he knew he was going. We knew he was going. So we did have time to say goodbye and have some conversations together. But yeah, real shock. And obviously with my work then, I was just unable to function for the first couple of months, really. So I really took time to immerse myself in that grief. And I thought, I have to face this, and I have to experience it and not avoid it and let it come. And it was overwhelming at times, but I thought, if I don't do this, I don't know if I'll ever be able to go back to work again and practice and function. And so that's what I did. I took a few months off work and, yeah, immersed myself in it.
So you were a very good therapist yourself.
I was, and I kept hearing the advice I would give to clients,
Yes.
Be really kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Be really kind to yourself. Gentle, and you can't speed it up, can you?
No, and let the feelings come. Don't sort of bat them away.
Yeah.
And because I think we do have a tendency to do that with difficult emotions.
Yes.
I mean, these are massive generalizations.
Yeah, well, I do. I'm very good at avoiding things.
Yeah.
I think that's my attachment style as well, but that's another podcast.
Yeah, maybe we can do another one on attachment styles.
But I know
that's mine as well.
I know I'm good at avoiding things. So I thought, no, this time I'm going to have to really face it and embrace it in a weird way and sit with it.
And what made you do it differently this time, do you think?
Good question. It was such an important relationship and the biggest loss that I'd ever experienced personally. So I thought, I have to honour this and really look after myself with this. I realised the importance of it all, my sitting with the grief, and yeah. And
I mean, you've been a therapist for 10 years at least, haven't you? So it's not like you were new to therapy and had only just realized that you needed to sit with those emotions. It was more that experience of it being your dad.
Yes, the experience. He was such a big personality, and the patriarch of the families. He was Sicilian, and our love of coming together and family and cooking and food, and so he left a huge hole, and we were very close, very close.
You and him?
Yes. Aww. Yes, really best mates.
Oh
yeah.
Well, it's watching you now talk about him. You are doing it with a smile on your face, which is lovely to see as you're recounting him. But also, it's taken you time and some real work.
Yes, yeah, and just thinking of those stages of grief, even though I was aware of them as a therapist, it doesn't help in any way at the time when you're in the middle of it. And you can't speed things up, but got a lot of support. My brother was amazing. And luckily, my partner, Sean, was in between contracts. So he was off work for a couple of months and he was absolutely fantastic. And close friends, got girls, friends from school who were like sisters, my mum, my stepmum, everyone was we all just sort of lent against each other, I think.
Yeah. And I suppose with your stepmum and your brother, they were, I mean, I'm not saying your mum wasn't, but it was a different relationship. You were all grieving him, weren't you?
Yes, we were. And for quite often, and even now, every time I see my stepmother, we can get tearful, kind of trigger each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you think there's then a permission?
Yeah.
Between you both that you can do that?
Yeah, and it's okay. I do. My sort of style of grieving has been in the past to go off and lock myself away. Right. I don't want anyone around me. I don't want. I don't want to talk to anyone about it. That in the old day, that was my style of grieving, and I thought, no, I can't do that this time. Did a bit of it initially, but then I had to come out and kind of face the world and talk. But I'm quite private about my emotions.
Yeah.
So it wasn't easy.
No, I'm sure it wasn't. And I mean, it's not easy. Anyway, it's a big thing, isn't it? That the loss of a parent.
Yes.
Is a really, I mean, the loss of anybody. The death of anybody is a really big thing. But I think the death of a parent, especially one you were really close to.
Yeah.
Leaving a big hole is a really big thing to deal with.
Yeah. And I didn't really realize that. And how would I really until it happened?
Yeah.
How would you can't really prepare. I couldn't prepare for it. So yeah. But now I hear his voice when I'm in the kitchen and I'm doing shortcuts with Italian food, and I'm thinking he'd go mad if he could see me not salting my aubergines. Oh my! I can hear his voice in my head.
And how does that make you feel now?
Comforted.
Yeah.
And I say, all right. But then people, the family think I'm mad. I say, all right, I will salt my aubergines. I'm talking in my head.
Do you say it out loud? Do you say it out loud?
Yeah.
And would you say, he, I don't know whether it's a bit woo for you. I mean, I'm quite woo these days, but that he's there. His spirit is still around.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I can feel him around at different times. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there, and I feel that he's at peace. Yeah, which gives me great comfort.
Yeah, of course it does, because whatever it was that took him was big. Yes,
yeah.
And do you? So you say you dealt with this differently this time, and I know it was because it was such an important relationship, and I think as we get a bit older, maybe we think maybe it's time to do things differently. A bit older and a bit wiser, maybe. And the sphere you work in, the sector you work in, you will be very aware of the importance of recognizing your emotions and feeling your emotions. Is there any way you can articulate how different this has been maybe to how you've dealt with these situations in the past?
How can I articulate that? I just feel like I've properly gone through the process. I've given my time to properly go through the process. And I feel the benefit of that now. Yeah. I feel lighter. At the time, the weight of the grief, I could feel it on my back like a boulder. It was a physical thing as well. I felt so heavy. I couldn't, just to get up and make a cup of tea was a huge effort. It affected every cell of my body, my hair, my nails, my appetite, my energy, my sleep, everything. So physically, I just feel so much lighter now and airier and just like I'm different, but in a good way. And it's like, and I feel like I've emerged from it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, you know,
Thank you.
And it does sound. I don't think I've had I mean, I have had losses,
Yeah.
but not close ones like your, and I don't think I felt the weight like you have. I don't recognize in me what you are describing.
Okay.
I do also recognize that the weight, maybe it's not as heavy as yours, but I have carried it for a long time. I'm not dealing with it.
Yes.
So, you know, I can resonate on one level with what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you know, I love the fact that you've tried something different, that you wanted to honor it maybe in a way differently this time. And how hard it is to stay in that.
Yes. Yeah. And I would get frustrated. I'm just thinking back. It was like, oh, the middle of winter, and it was a grim January, February, March. It seemed to rain constantly. It was grey constantly. That's my memory of it.
Yeah.
And I just thought, is this ever going to end? You know, I don't want to get up. I don't want to walk the dogs. I knew I had to. They kept me going, actually. I've got 2 cockapoos who we adore. And very often, I didn't want to go out with them. But, you know, Sean went back to work and I needed to take them out. I remember when we go up the local reservoir by me. And one day, I just felt so heavy. It was muddy and slippy and raining. And I slipped over and I just sat on the mud thinking, oh my God, you know, here I am covered in, I just cried. And then some of my friends who are also dog walkers came and picked me up and, you know, gave me a hug and said, come on, Jules.
Oh.
And it was lovely. It was lovely. So, but the dogs really helped.
Yeah.
Really, really helped.
And yes, so you had to keep going. You had, you know, it was a reason to have to. So I think there's lots of things tied in that. You know, you know, you had to do you had to give a bit of you to them.
Yeah.
So you had to
try.
You had to try. Because you know you needed to walk them. You had to go outside.
Yeah.
Because there's a great, you know, the power of being outside is. And with friends who were walking their dogs.
Yes.
And I can just imagine you sort of falling, you know, sitting on your bum in the mud.
I felt very sorry for myself. I think that was the lowest moment. But the friends that that I walk the dogs with, a couple of them had also lost parents, one very recently, and another friend had lost her father. So they understood and they just, you know, I didn't need to explain and I didn't feel embarrassed. So yeah, peer support in work. When I did go back to work, you know, my manager was amazing. The girls in work were amazing. Everyone was a team and just checking in on me, and it was lovely. Yeah, it did feel very held.
And you allowed yourself to be held.
Yes, because I was honestly communicating about how I was feeling.
So none of this, oh yeah, I'm fine.
Oh no, yeah, which I've always done in the past. No, I can do it. Yeah, I'm fine, and kind of battle through and suffer in silence. Couldn't do that this time.
And you've come out the other end
stronger,
and what is it Brené Brown says? Strong back, soft front.
Yes.
I love that. You know, yes, stronger, but a bit softer as well. Maybe for having
definitely more. You know, I'm more empathetic to people who are grieving. I thought I understood grief before then, but I don't think I did. And more of an insight and understanding as to how people can feel physically as well as emotionally.
And the toll it can take.
Yeah, on the whole family.
Yeah.
You know, everyone had to pull their weight and do things that I just wasn't interested in. Tried to function, but Yeah, and obviously Sean's experience, my partner Sean's experience of losing his twin in his early 20s, I'd experienced support. Sorry, the dog's now just decided to bark. Oh, she stopped. Obviously, that was another reason why I came into work. I came into the field of counselling, seeing him going through that grief and huge loss for him and the whole family. Yeah. So he
I remember
understands
that.
grief. Yeah, you remember that.
I just
Yeah.
remember I was at the, I remember going to the funeral and just being so shocked, because
Yes.
I'm I'm the same age as you and
Yes.
Sean, and
Yeah.
it was it in our first year? We were 19, 20,
early 20s, I think.
Yeah.
He was. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and I just remember that, just the shock of it, that
Yeah.
somebody that age, so
Yes.
vibrant and alive,
Yeah.
could die. I mean, I know that sounds a bit naive, but just the reality of it,
Yes.
was really quite shocking. And that was me. He wasn't my twin. He wasn't even a member of my family.
Yes. Yeah.
And so going through that is at such a young age really shapes
Oh,
you.
absolutely. Absolutely. And because Adam was away, he was traveling, he was in New Zealand, that was, made it even harder, I think. And Sean really understands grief and gets it.
Wow.
Yeah, he's really tuned in and insightful. So he was just amazing.
How wonderful to have that, and for that to be an opportunity for him to really support you as well.
Yes. So in our relationship, we've really supported each other. But I don't think I could have gone through it as well if Sean hadn't been around, and he was really, really stepped up. Yeah.
Being so supportive.
Yeah.
And you've helped him with his grief as well.
Yeah.
So you've had a lot to contend with.
Yes. Yeah. And his mum had Alzheimer's for 10 years or more. So that was another loss, but maybe we'll talk about that again.
Yeah, because that's I've heard plenty of people talk about, in that situation, you kind of lose them twice.
Yes.
Because you lose them when they're not themselves anymore, and then you lose them when they die. And it's a double whammy.
And they're so confusing because they're physically there.
Yes.
But not there. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's mainly my story with my mum, because my mum was never there, because she was either drunk, getting drunk, or hungover. So she was never actually she was never emotionally present
there.
Ever.
Yes. Ever.
So, although, can that be a loss if she was never there? I mean, it's interesting. That's more a loss for me of what could have been.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But so do you, sorry, Twitter, let's not go there, because it's too easy a path to go down just for now. But do you feel that what you've been through helps you with your work?
Yes.
Now?
Yes. Yeah. It's given me more insight and understanding and patience. I think you can't speed things up. Got to be really gentle with clients, and time and space. So I think my approach in work is gentler.
Right.
Yeah, lighter touch.
Yeah, and because I think I remember when I first went to therapy, I thought I'd only need 6 sessions.
Oh, and me. Well, I didn't think I needed any. I said, when I first started training, they said, oh, well, this is going to change you and you're going to have to. I said, I'm fine. I've got absolutely no issues. I don't need therapy. 30 sessions later.
Oh, love it. And it's funny, because once you take the lid off, it's amazing. It's amazing what's in there, isn't it? And and I think, because I think there's a general reluctance still, certainly in the UK, maybe not so much in the US,
Yeah.
but still there is a reluctance around seeking support, certainly therapy.
Yeah.
There is a certain stigma, maybe.
Yes.
You know, like you said, oh, I don't need therapy. I mean, I totally avoided therapy. I'm not saying I didn't need it. I think I just wasn't prepared to even think whether I did or didn't need it. I was in complete denial about the whole thing until I just collapsed and went, right, I'm just going to have to do something. Okay.
Yes.
It can't get any worse than this. I'll go to therapy.
Yeah.
And like, you know, like you, it has changed my life beyond all recognition.
Yes.
My inside world has changed beyond recognition.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I would have gone there without the massive kick up the backside that losing the sight in my eye gave me.
Yes.
And you did it because you had to as part of your...
Yeah, it was mandatory. We had to have 10 sessions, but, you know, I had 30 and I wouldn't hesitate to have more. What I'm hoping, though, now is that young people, I'm seeing have a different attitude. Teenagers, and in Wales, all primary schools and secondary schools are supposed to have access to therapy. I used to be a school-based counsellor as well. So I'm seeing a bit of a difference in attitude for teenagers, particularly in accessing therapy, because it's normalised a bit more in schools and colleges, and you know, it's not as accessible as it should be, and we haven't got the funding that we should have, but that's another thing. But so I am seeing a bit of more open to therapy, more open than the older, say, you know, older generations. Say older. Yeah.
I know, hate to admit it, but that is us now,
middle-aged,
yeah.
So I'm hoping that you know, if they have a good experience in college or school, that it's given them a good platform to seek therapy in the future, should they ever need to or want to. I'm hopeful for them.
Yeah, it's funny because my oldest has just come back from a week camping with some of his friends. They were camping on a friend's grandparents' farm.
Yeah.
And he said that they spent every evening, there were 7 young lads, they're all 15, 16.
Yeah.
They at night they would sit around the fire just chatting till about 1 o'clock in the morning.
I love that. Brilliant.
And I'm like, there was 2 of them. I brought mine and another one home yesterday. And I was like sitting there listening to them chatting about it. And then they just sat there and chatted all that. And I'm like, oh my, you know, my heart was going, oh my goodness for that.
How important.
Yeah.
Amazing. For boys as well.
I know. I was thinking, oh, please, yes. You know, because you know, the stats for young men are dreadful, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
So, long may that continue.
Long may that continue. Yeah. Because they all roll their eyes here when I say, you know, what's that? What are you feeling in that moment? Or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. My kids say, don't you do that counselling with me?
Yeah. Exactly. But I
no
think
help whatsoever.
I think they do take it in though, don't they?
Do you think so? I hope so. I hope so. Well, they see me doing my stuff. You know, I do a weekly mindfulness class, which is lovely.
Yeah.
On a Wednesday, they see me doing my, or you know, so I don't know. Maybe it does go in. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you say about younger people, and I think maybe there is less stigma there, and they are more used to it. I hope that's true. I hope that's true, and they're not just saying it.
Yeah,
performative. That's all.
Yes,
and that's just my concern, I suppose. But equally, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
But you know, I suppose the more, you know, I love that you've come to have this conversation with me about grief, because somebody might just listen to this and think, oh, maybe that's what I'm going through, or maybe you know, I need to immerse myself in it more, or something. If just one person listens to this and does something a little bit differently, then that would be amazing, you know. And maybe encouraging, you know, younger people to talk and let it out rather than burying it down, because we, you know, I think we all know that if we do bury it, it comes bursting out somewhere.
When they're ready. Timing is important, isn't it?
I wasn't ready before.
No.
I always say I wish I'd
Yeah.
done it a lot earlier, but I wasn't.
But you weren't ready. It wasn't the right time.
No. And you touched there on your mindfulness, so that's part of your self-care, and you do that weekly. What are there other things that you
yeah do? This has come with time, really, because I wasn't the best as a therapist at looking after myself initially. I don't think I realized the impact of the work that I do, and so now I do, and I do weekly mindfulness, and I practice that nearly every day as well. Just the use of the breath, I just love it. Swimming, I love. Underwater, I'll get my best ideas underwater. Don't go fast, just poodle along, but everything, I can sort the world out if I'm underwater. And walking the dogs, meeting up with friends, having a life away from therapy, about balance, isn't it? Having a life away from that with friends. We live West Wales. It was a real haven for me down there. So a balance, good support, good friends, and having fun and a bit of a laugh, Even therapists laugh sometimes.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. We need, we need more therapists to stay and doing their work, not leave, because it's so hard. And I think if we apply this sort of the more corporate principles of push through and keep going and hours and hours and hours, if you apply that to somebody doing work like yours, it
doesn't work.
It's fast track to burnout, isn't it?
It doesn't work. No.
And I think so I part trained as a therapist, and I think that's one of the reasons I didn't carry on. I just couldn't see that was going to be for me. It's not for everyone. No, it's not for everyone. No. Hats off, take my hat off to you that you do stick with it, and you've had to find your way with
it takes time. You find your way, and you're ever evolving. Now I've qualified as a supervisor as well, and I really like working with students, counsellors, because I love to see that journey of their initial session and then their confidence build, and I love working with student counsellors. So that's another area for me. I love it.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, isn't it? To within whatever we do, to notice the bits of our job that really light us up.
Yes.
Because we can't do that all the time, but we can perhaps minimize the stuff that doesn't light us up and maximize, if we can, the stuff that does light us up.
Yes.
It's important. We only get one life, don't we?
That's right. And giving back as well. I had so much support when I was training. I'm a brilliant mentor and lead counsellor who guided me through working, and I had so much support. So a brilliant manager. It's good to give a bit back as well.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And so as we begin to wrap up, obviously, we've sort of gone a little bit all over the place, which we knew we would do. But we came here primarily to talk about grief, and you've told us about your experience. Thank you for that, and how you're feeling now as a result of immersing yourself in that process. And it can go on for years. Yes, here you are 18 months later, and you're, it's still with you, but you are feeling much better, if I can use that.
And there are times at anniversaries and birthdays and Christmas which can be tough. And I can have a few good months, and then I could have a bad week. And that's okay.
And just recognizing that's all part of the process. Because I do think with grief in particular, there is this whole, well, how long is it going to take you to get over it? Or you're over it now, so how can you be, back on your bum in the mud again? Well, that is what's going to happen, isn't it?
And I think, I thought, I'll be all right in a year. Well, it doesn't go like that. Why did I think that 12 months would be it, and then I'd be fine? I don't know. But
maybe done all the firsts by then, the first birthday, the first
probably
Christmas, the first anniversary.
But
it's not linear, is it?
No, it's not. And you can get stuck and you can go backwards and then, yeah.
And I think it's like that with therapy for it, with all sorts of things that we have to go through.
Yes.
And I only mentioned therapy there is because that's what helped me through mine. But, it's possible to do it without therapy if you have really great support around you and people you can talk to who are going to listen.
Yeah, I think sharing it is important. Yeah, definitely.
Kind of takes the energy out of it a little bit.
Yeah, it does. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so to anybody who's listening who might be going through something similar, what would you say?
I would say be really gentle with and kind to yourself, and one step at a time, and share if you can.
I love that, one step at a time. Yeah, because it's not something that like we have and then we don't have, or that like we're ill and then we get better. It's with us because that we've lost that person has gone, that person has died. So and I keep saying the word died or dead because I think we have an aversion to using that word. We have all these passing away or passed on, but
they are dead. Yes.
Well, I don't know. For me, that feels important. So I'm hoping
for me as well.
I'm hoping I'm not annoying anybody who's listening. But but that person is not coming back. So it's not. It's something that you learn to live with because you are still living.
Yes.
So you learn to live with that loss.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And if there are people around you who are expecting you to all of a sudden be better, then that's for them to have to deal with their feelings around that. You who are going through the grief.
Yes.
It's really important that you honor that process.
Yeah, absolutely. That's being kind to yourself, isn't it? Honoring the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And not berating yourself for it taking so long, or like you say, 1 minute one minute you can be okay and the next minute you're not. And especially in those moments, being really, really kind to yourself.
Yes.
Because I mean, I always look at it that that's just our body giving us a message.
Yes.
Yes. In a way, it's like maybe it's too fast. Maybe you're trying too fast too soon. And it's something to pull you up a little bit. And like this still takes time, and we're still dealing with this. Maybe.
Yes. Yeah. One step at a time.
Yeah, love that. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I've loved having this conversation, and I hope you'll come back because there's a few things we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about living loss, and we haven't. I'd love to talk to you about your work with, children and young people because, as the cliche goes, they are the future.
Yeah.
And
I'd love to come back. Yeah. Thank you.
I would love to have you. So we'll sort that.
Okay.
And if anybody wants to know anything more about you or find you anywhere, is there anywhere?
I don't advertise actually, kind of word of mouth. So maybe if they could get in touch with you and
okay, lovely. So if
that's okay with you,
that's absolutely fine. So if anybody wants to know more about Jules, get in touch with me. And I will put you in touch. Okay,
great. Okay,
right. Amazing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed it.
Me too.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to HSP Connection. If you've enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. Also, we'd really appreciate it if you could rate the podcast and share it with anyone you think might be interested. It helps others find us. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, you can also leave us a review.
To get in touch with us, you can email us at hspconnectionpodcast@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear from you with your thoughts and comments on the episodes and any suggestions you have for future topics and guests.
We are both HSP coaches and speakers. And to find out more about Robbie, go to Robbie Lee, that's leigh.com.
And to find out more about Philippa, go to safeandsupported.co.uk. See you next time.